XRP is currently in recovery mode. Let's dive into the latest updates because something significant has just emerged regarding Coinbase. More specifically, its institutional side. We're now heading into a phase where XRP futures will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is happening in the middle of what seems like a healthy recovery for XRP, which is currently sitting at $2.26 and still showing signs of upward momentum. Honestly, I'm really liking how XRP is performing today. It's not bad at all. In fact, it's doing quite well that if we look at the short-term trends, the 5-minute and 15-minute intervals are both at 100, which means there's volume and capital flowing in right now. The metrics are looking more solid. We're seeing XRP hitting 90 points, and although the label says very bullish, what we're actually witnessing is a recovery phase, not a full-blown bullish trend yet. But still, if you look closely, the price has climbed from $2.19 to $2.27 in a relatively short period. I'll refresh the chart just to make sure we're working with the latest numbers, and yes, it's currently at $2.2694, which is essentially $2.27. So that's around an 8-cent recovery so far. It's not a massive breakout, but it's a meaningful step forward, and overall, today is shaping up to be a good day for crypto markets in general. Now, one of the big reasons we're seeing this bounce across the market is because President Trump is set to hold a commercial discussion with President Xi Jinping of China this Friday. There's anticipation surrounding this call, and markets are reacting positively to the potential for favorable news to come out of it. The expectation is that both nations might deliver some constructive outcomes, and that alone is providing a bit of a lift across the board today. This is shaping up to be one of the most important events of the week. In fact, I'd argue it's probably the single most important one right now. What each country says following this call will set the tone. In the meantime, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bitstamp, recently stated that under the Biden administration, cryptocurrencies were essentially put on a path toward extinction. And honestly, I have to say, it's good to finally feel like we're coming out of that dark tunnel. Think about it. We've survived 4 brutal years of downward pressure, lawsuits, and regulatory hostility, particularly from the SEC and Gary Gensler. If crypto managed to survive those 4 years, I'm convinced things can't get much worse from here. What gives me hope is that things are already shifting under Trump. His stance is markedly more pro-crypto, and we're seeing real signals that the tide is turning. Now, back to the futures market. Since the launch of 24/7 trading, more than 1 million contracts have already been traded, with approximately $580 million in national volume during extended hours. Right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum futures are available, but XRP and Solana will be joining this expanded market on June 13. That's just 10 days away, and it's exciting. This is a market that's already generated over $500 million in volume, and adding XRP and Solana could open even more institutional liquidity. Coinbase derivatives market is rapidly becoming more central, and XRP is already included in it. But what's coming is the expansion to 24-hour, 7-day-a-week availability starting on June 13. Also, just yesterday, we saw that Robinhood acquired Bitstamp, and we previously mentioned how Ripple and Robinhood/Bitstamp were collaborating to launch this derivatives market. So it's all connected, and this could be a game changer. We might be heading toward a key inflection point in Coinbase derivatives offerings. If XRP and Solana go fully 24/7 on June 13th, we're not just seeing a technical improvement. We're seeing a structural shift in how institutions can access and trade these assets. There's also news for those following XDC. Official updates confirm that XDC is expanding its presence in Australia. The XDC network has partnered again with the Digital Economy Council of Australia. There's an upcoming event between June 16th and 18th featuring several panels, including a casual conversation about supply chain transparency and provenance with members of Web3, as well as a DLT panel on digital money rails. One of the key highlights is an executive roundtable on stablecoins, which will likely explore the digitization and issuance of national currencies in Australia using XDC's blockchain. That I've said it before, XDC is a project worth researching. It's highly functional and, at the moment, still severely undervalued. It continues building partnerships and relevance, especially in regions like Australia. This upcoming event could play a major role in shaping the narrative around XDC and its practical utility as for today's developments. That's essentially the bulk of what we're seeing unfold. No other major headlines for now, but there's a live stream later tonight at 9 p.m. to cover more news and emerging updates. As for Ethereum, it's also showing strength right now, holding above $2,600, but XRP is outperforming both Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of recent price action. This recent strength in XRP actually reminds me of last November. If you recall, Bitcoin and Ethereum were both stagnating at the time, while XRP started moving independently and eventually surged. I'm not saying we'll see the exact same pattern play out again, but the similarities are there. The performance we're seeing today is a step in the right direction, even if there's still a long road ahead. No one's celebrating yet, but we are witnessing a recovery that, given how low prices have dipped recently, down to $2.07 just 4 days ago, means that anyone who bought in at those levels is now sitting on some gains. It's not a life-changing windfall, but it's something, and it shows how quickly sentiment can shift in this space.